The UMX Turbo Timber Evolution is the charmingly compact sibling of the Timber family. It's adorable, takes to the skies like a missile seeking the sun, and isn't the obese nose beer addict of the family like the Twin Timber is. Don't be misled by its adorable demeanor, though. There's a significant problem that every potential buyer of this bird needs to be made aware of. Right off the bat, the UMX Timber immediately felt like a natural fit to aircraft we approve of. UMX planes, in our experience, typically aren't the most capable aircraft, but this Timber does almost all of what you ask of it for a sport UMX airplane. It'll do everything from hovering, to a knife edge, to inverted high alpha, and it'll do it all pretty well considering its size. It also makes for a great toy for your four-legged friends. Performance-wise, the UMX Timber is a marvel for its size. The powerful brushless motor, combined with a great matched propeller, gives it plenty of thrust. This thing is an absolute rocket ship on a 3-cell. It has an abundance of thrust that's surprising for something its size. It's also a pure joy to putt around with low and slow with the flaps down in confined spaces, which is part of what is so fun about the UMX niche of airplanes.
This is not going to end well. This will not end well. From prior experience, oh my god, dude. My heart rate.
It can take some abuse too, except when it flies into a tree and lands in a pond. When you build an aircraft with properties of a lower wing cube loading, excess thrust, and a proven airframe design, you get a pretty solid candidate for bush flying. It's pretty hard to unintentionally break the UMX Turbo Timber. In reality, it was a blast flying exactly where RC planes shouldn't be flown, and the UMX Turbo Timber Evolution made it easy. It's responsive, agile, and our gear held up great. It's really refreshing to be able to nose over or fly the aircraft into the ground and not have the anxiety walking up to the aircraft wondering if it's broken or not. And that might just be a product of its size rather than Horizon's research lab, but either way, we were appreciative. We did unfortunately hit a branch which sent the plane into a river, but thankfully it floats even without the floats.
Oh no. That leaf is actually affecting the way it's flying. Whoa!
We waited for it to drift closer to the shore.
This is some of the risk of bush flying. It happens to everybody. So it's worth the risk, but you gotta get money.
And then I grabbed it with a stick as I worried I may fall into my death in the river.
This is so great. I'm gonna be really careful with how I grab it because I don't want to get the nose underwater. Battery's still there and it's plugged in, so that means it got waterlogged. Okay, unplugging. Oh god.
What happened to the canopy? Oh.
Oh, mission number 2. Oh, that one's gonna be tough, dude.
We didn't quite get as lucky with the canopy, but we eventually got that back too.
Fall in.
Since this is a UMX bind and fly airplane, there's zero assembly to speak of. Horizon definitely excels at this model. We opted to do a quick mod on ours. We moved the pushrod linkages to the closest in holes on the elevator and rudder to get as much travel as we could out of it. This is all thanks to the AS3X limiting travel to 100%, which is where we had to wave a white flag to keep our travel as well. Yeah. Be very gentle when doing this, as the plastic hardware is light and fragile. Battery-wise, we chose to drink the Kool-Aid and try out the Spectrum 3S300 packs, since they weren't the proprietary ones without a balance plug. We placed these as far back as we could go on the Velcro battery tray. You can optionally fly this plane on a 2-cell, but we like the optional ludicrous mode. We went with no expo in any of the control surfaces. It should be noted that there are optional floats available. We may give this a shot next spring. Thanks to a combo of its lower wing cube loading, lack of elevator authority, CG placement, among other things, this Timber will not bite you. We tried everything from accelerated stalls to dirty power-on stalls, and not even a hint of wing dropping occurred. It can be fun to just give it full throttle and hold full up elevator and lock it into a tight loop. If you do high alpha right side up, expect some serious wing rock though, but somehow no lethal bites. On the topic of wing cube loading, this model comes in at 7.2, which is actually lower than the regular sized Timber Evolutions, which comes in at 7.8. The plane feels similar in the air, minus the fact that it's a fraction of the size, which makes it much more fun in tight small spaces, doing the same things a regular Timber Evo excelled at, stick and rudder flying with the flaps down. Adverse yaw was nearly negligible, which we found surprising given every other Timber had a fair amount. It's probably best to avoid flying this model in the wind, as it's small and light, which means it'll get the knocked out of it. Takeoffs are a breeze. Just punch the throttle and off you go. If you plan on flying from grass, it might be best to have freshly mown putting green height grass. Otherwise, you'll probably spend more time nosing over than flying. Despite all our nose-overs, we haven't had to replace the prop a single time. One wheels are pretty challenging, but that's to be expected with a plane this size. Hovering is not something this plane enjoys doing unless you enter it perfectly and stay on top of it. If you don't, the nose will try and come down, and you won't have enough elevator authority to get it back into the hover once an angle of attack is introduced to the wing. We set our timer for 4 minutes on the throttle, but it's a good idea to buy some spare packs since they're relatively cheap, and one pack on this plane never quite felt like enough. While it's really fun experimenting with what this plane is capable of, it does have one pretty serious flaw. The linear elevator servo will sometimes lock out when under a load.
I'm gonna put the simulated load, let go of the stick, the servo stays in the position, you let go, it goes back to neutral and works again.
But that explains what happened the other day when it didn't pull out.
Yeah, well, but you know what? 30-day warranty.
Before you call us crazy, there's actually a lot of people out there with the same issue. We even contacted Horizon since we were a legit paying customer to see if they'd make it right, seeing as it split ours in two.
No!
Sad.
But they brushed us off and said the plane was out of warranty. This was a pretty disappointing response given that this isn't just a one-off issue. Others have lost their plane due to the same thing. Unfortunately, the only advice we have to give as a band-aid fix to those out there is to avoid trying things like knife edge spins, aggressive loops, or any maneuver that uses prolonged elevator input while putting an aerodynamic load on the airplane and the servo. Assuming your UMX Timber doesn't get split in two like ours, it's really fun trying to figure out every way possible to launch this plane. Sure, it can take off from the ground, but that's boring. Why not try a pseudo discus launch? Or taking off from a car? During your pre-flight, be sure to occasionally check both wheels, as over some time, our wheel retainers started to creep out to the edge of the axle. But it's worth mentioning it took about 6 months for this to happen. Over time, the airframe degrades a little too. We found our tail section began to warp, despite us keeping it in the box in a climate-controlled basement anytime we weren't flying it. If foam does break on this bird, we strongly suggest using foam-safe CA with a kicker. The UMX Turbo Timber Evolution will really surprise you with how tight of an area it can fly in. We don't have any regular indoor flying near us, but it would have been a breeze there too. We tried everything outside, from keeping it in the confines of our yards, a tennis court, and even flying over a small creek, and it never felt like a challenge. We said it before, but it truly is great having such a small-sized plane in your fleet because it offers you the ability to fly in places you've never been able to before. Landing-wise, this bird excels at nice wheel landings. You can't three-point this plane easily without leaving the power in, thanks to the lack of elevator travel that's AS3X's fault. Hand grab landings can be fun though, but don't underestimate the prop. It'll still hurt. Oh, and don't try these upside down either. The UMX Turbo Timber Evolution comes with optional leading-edge fixed slats. We didn't experiment with them, but the overall consensus online was that most people couldn't feel a difference with them on or off. Makes sense for a wing this size. Don't buy into the gimmick. The power this plane outputs, combined with its maneuverability and capability, makes it a great option for STOL operations on a budget. If you're thinking of picking one up and want to help support us, use our affiliate link, which can be found in the description below. Yeah, somehow Horizon still allows us to have this, at least. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you think Horizon should make a UMX Draco, or maybe hit subscribe if you'd like to see our own version of the UMX Turbo Timber, the UMX Turbo Wiener. As a quick channel update, congrats to Black Sheep for winning our October photo contest on our Discord with this awesome shot of their Corsair. If you want to participate in the November contest, join our Discord for a fun, positive, and supportive community, and submit your best airplane photos taken in November on there. The winner gets a free limited edition sticker and has their photo featured in both a video and in an annual tail-heavy community calendar that will be released early in December. As always, happy landings, bounce one on for us, and we'll catch you next week with a new upload.